Hey folks, this is Kelani. Seeing as the netherlight crucible can unlock some pretty huge power spikes for pretty much everyone, it seems to reason that we'd like to unlock everything in a timely fashion. Perhaps even rather quickly. Sadly, the crucible is tied to your artifact's current level, and you won't be able to make full use of the crucible's power until your artifact is up at 75. But fear not, we're going to tackle this problem the best way we know how. Here's 8 ways to collect all that delicious artifact power I know you're craving. So first things first, I wouldn't ever recommend actively grinding for artifact power. What we're going to be talking about is more of a daily checklist or even a weekly checklist, and then a few things you can do if you get super bored one rainy day. The first thing I want to talk about though is artifact knowledge. Artifact knowledge will increase by 1 every time your weekly reset rolls around, so Tuesday for North America and friends, and then Wednesday for Europe. And for anyone who might be new this patch, artifact knowledge will increase the amount of artifact power you gain from all sources significantly. Put simply, every week farming artifact power becomes easier and faster, so if you wait a few weeks, you could get the same or even more artifact power for a fraction of the time or effort you put in right now. Just food for thought. But if you're like me and like to keep busy, let's see what we can do on a daily basis to keep the artifact power flowing into our weapons. Something everyone should be doing is knocking out all of your Argus world quests whenever possible. Ideally, your map should be clean at the end of your days playing for various reasons, reputation, gear options, and of course artifact power. The world quests on Argus give us the most artifact power of any world quests, so they should always be first on your list. World quests are an amazing source of artifact power because they can randomly double as long as you've maxed your class hall upgrades out, which you probably should have by now. With tokens giving around 160k artifact power as of recording this, that means you can get 300k plus from any of the world quests on Argus with a bit of luck. That bonus AP adds up pretty fast. Next week it's going to be worth even more, and as we continue through the next patch, the worth of that class hall upgrade is only going to increase. It's always double what the AP of the world quest is, so as the AP increases, so does that proc. So if you're missing that class hall upgrade for whatever reason, make sure you go and get it, and make sure you're knocking out all of your AP Argus world quests, if not all of them. So while you're out on Argus taking care of those world quests, make sure you keep an eye out for the invasion points. They come up every 2 hours and last for 6 hours, so there's a maximum of 3 on the map at any one time. That also means they pop up very frequently, so if you've already cleared your map for the day and you come back a few hours later, you might have some more fun in store. Each invasion point gives about the same as an Argus world quest, and they usually don't take longer than 5 minutes, especially if you use the group finder to hop into a group that's more progressed than your current scenario. The loot from invasions is now automatically looted to you, so there's no time spent trying to loot bosses under a mass of people anymore. I assume you'll also be picking up any treasures and killing any rares you come across, as those little chunks of AP will add up before you know it. One other thing you can keep on top of every day is your mission table. You should ideally be working your way through the quests to increase your follow item level up to 925, which will unlock all of the Argus missions. You can get a whole bunch of new Argus equipment which allows you to really crank up that mission completion chance. Getting 200% on any of your AP missions is basically a guaranteed world quest double AP proc, as both of the base token and the bonus token award about the same as an Argus world quest. It's more or less free AP for a few minutes of your time every day. Moving on from the daily stuff, what can we do on a weekly basis to earn a good chunk of artifact power? The first one is pretty obvious. Make sure that Mythic Plus key in your bags gets done. If you don't have a key, go get one. Making sure you get at least 1 Mythic Plus done each week will give you a shiny piece of gear in your weekly cache, but more importantly for this video, a huge chunk of artifact power. The amount of AP you get in the cache depends on the highest key you ran, so the higher the better, but anything is better than nothing. Personally, I get a 10 done as a bare minimum and might go up to 15 if I have the time to spare. The cache also comes around with each artifact knowledge increase, so it just keeps getting bigger and bigger every week. The other weekly activity you should work on is getting as many Tomb of Sargeras bosses killed as you can. Each boss drops an AP token, which I believe is still the highest base token that drops, besides the one in the weekly cache. Getting all 9 bosses killed might be a struggle for some folks, but the AP will really be worth it. I'd recommend going in on the easiest difficulty you can be bothered with if you're only interested in the AP, as you can only loot 1 token per boss per difficulty, so if you run normal, you won't get any tokens if you run heroic, etc, etc. If you're also interested in the gear, then go for whatever suits you best, but I would definitely say tomb bosses are worth killing for their AP tokens alone. After this point, it becomes a case of how much time you want to put in. Once again, things will only get easier as the weeks roll by, but if you find yourself with some time to spare and you want to spend it farming up some extra AP, who am I to stop you? I'd recommend taking a look at your Broken Shore and Broken Isles maps. There's still a lot of world quests out there when you're done with Argus, but they won't award quite as much artifact power, making them worth a little bit less. The good news is that they can all still double proc if you get lucky, and the Broken Shore world quests aren't too far behind Argus in terms of how much AP is awarded. I'd start there and work your way around the Broken Isles after you don't have anything left on the Broken Shore. Remember that while you don't get a Legion 4 recompense bag from handing in 100 war supplies, you do still get AP, so there's another little bonus for you. What's interesting is that if you regularly clean out your AP world quests around the map, you almost always get your emissaries done without having to do anything extra. You should probably do your emissaries too for a variety of reasons, but if by this point you haven't been completing them, then running around doing AP world quests should knock them out automatically. While getting a high Mythic Plus key done for your weekly is extremely important, I wouldn't really recommend running Mythic Plus just for the artifact power until you've done everything else we've talked about. Usually the time it takes to clear a key versus the amount of AP you get isn't all that efficient, but if you're running the Mythic Plus keys for gear or just helping out some friends, you always collect some artifact power as long as you finish dungeons. Depending on the keys you run, it can be a pretty good chunk of AP too. The problem is that to get the better AP rewards, you have to run the higher keys, which obviously take longer and longer as you progress past a plus 10. It becomes a game of efficiency, but I'm glad that Mythic Plus grinding isn't the only option we have for artifact power farming these days. You can also take the fight back to all of the bosses we've already killed in all of the old raids of Legion. Emerald Nightmare, Trial of Valor and the Nighthold can still award a decent chunk of artifact power, and the bosses in these raids basically just fall over. You can usually find groups clearing through all of the raids on normal for legendary chances and for artifact power, and they stack up the DPS because the raids are kind of a joke. Most bosses fall over in under 2 minutes, some of the faster ones in under a minute. Sadly, the tokens available from these raids are pretty small in comparison to Tomb of Sargeras. But there's always a chance at some crazy Titan Forge loot, and it's all working towards your next legendary, so it really just depends on how you want to spend your time. If you're super strapped for time and you just need a little bit extra AP, you can also hop into random daily heroics. At this point, the trash and bosses in heroic dungeons fall over if anyone farts in their general direction, so they should only take about 10 minutes. Usually the groups I end up joining don't even need a healer, so we blast through as 4 DPS. Overall, a random heroic dungeon grants about an Argus world quest's worth in AP, thanks to the tokens you get from bosses and the larger token you get as an award for the actual daily queue. So there we have it. There's plenty of ways to work towards your next Concordance point and thus your next Netherlight Crucible talent point. We're not stuck grinding more of souls over and over again, though I'm sure a few folks are doing it anyways. If you have any questions or queries, please leave them in the comment section below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible, or hop on over to Discord. We have a server at discord.gg/Kelani, great place to ask questions or just hang out. Remember to leave a like just below the video before you leave, and if you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. But apart from that, thanks for watching folks, good luck and have fun, and as always I will see you next time.